Hello, my name is Aaron Botello, and I'm a college professor, and I'm here today with.
Ryan Fitzgerald. I'm a licensed mental health counselor and also a former educator.
All right, and so what are we here to talk about today?
So, parenting, right, and some of the struggles that parents are facing in terms of managing children's behavior. I'll talk about some of the common problems, and then some of the approaches that may not be working as well as people would hope, and then as we move along, get into maybe some of the possible solutions to help parents in those areas.
Okay, and so this is a field that's rapidly changed in the past couple of years. Would that be safe to say?
Yeah, I'd say it's been changing pretty rapidly for some time now, and it continues to with a lot of the advancements and changes in culture and technology and things like that. I think it's difficult.
Yeah, and it would be fair to say that this hasn't happened everywhere in the same sort of way. I mean, we're a big and diverse country here in the United States where we're filming, and it's just then, still there's some regional differences. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, I think parenting is very culturally specific,
Right.
both across the globe and even within locations, certain locations, depending on ethnicity, on socioeconomics, on belief systems. There's lots of different approaches, and we're going to focus more on some of the more universal type problems and
Sure.
and solutions that can exist.
Now, traditionally, parents have relied on physical discipline, but this is something that's becoming less socially acceptable. Is it just a matter of social acceptability, or?
I think it was one of the tools that people have used throughout history. In some cultures, they still use it more so, less so than other cultures. I think there has been a move away from it. Part of it's society trying to stem, issues of abuse.
Yep.
But also, there's been research that's kind of looked at those approaches compared to other approaches, and that there's some sort of unwanted side effects or problems associated with that approach to parenting.
And that's something we're going to look into, some of these traditional approaches or new approaches in a little more detail.
Yeah, we'll be talking about them.
And and then part of why we're doing this is, what do you replace these things with?
Yeah, I see this a lot in my practice when working with families is they don't know what to do, right? Because there isn't sort of a guidebook or a handbook that you're given. There are some resources out there, but you really got to be proactive in finding something that's a good fit. And there's so much of information and sometimes misinformation out there, trying to figure out things that'll work for you on top of parenting, on top of working, on top
Right.
of taking care of the home and all other responsibilities is daunting, I think. For
Right.
parents.
And I know just from my teaching practice, you tend to do what you were taught. That's,
Yeah.
you start teaching and you start, oh, well, this is how my professor did it. And I think parenting's the same way, right? You tend to,
Yeah,
oh,
or
this
the
is how we
opposite.
did it. Or the opposite,
I'm not
yeah.
doing anything like that. Yeah,
Fair to
You
say,
see
fair to
some
say.
cases of that too.
So, what would you say some of the common problems that parents are facing today?
Yeah, so I think there's some common, at least to the United States, and most people I think can agree with this, but not all, of course, is defiance and opposition, right? Where you're trying to get the kid engaged in a wanted behavior, but the kid won't. Some of the common ones around chores, around homework, around, I think everyone knows about keeping the room clean, the bedroom clean. Your parents have been fighting that for a long, long time.
Right.
Some issues, sibling conflicts, I think, are common ones that you see, and how to
Always.
manage that. Yeah.
Always, yeah.
Yep. And a big one, I think, is a very new development. When you took it at human history, is internet, social media, and sort of the problems and things that can arise from that.
And I'm curious, what are some of the problems that your clients or the research is showing that students or children are facing these days?
So lots of them, especially the younger they are, right? Some of the research coming out about teenagers and stuff, it's a little more mitigated, less problematic. But I think there's lots of self-esteem concerns coming out of this. There's been increased anxiety, depression, associated and correlated strongly with social media usage.
No, why would self-esteem be affected by it?
It's not clear, right?
Right.
I think part of it is that you're looking at people on the internet that are filtered dramatically, not only in their photographs of themselves, but also in their lives. And I think you're seeing people that all look like everything's wonderful, and now you're going through, even possibly puberty or some of these emotional
Right.
issues of childhood, and you
Right.
just like, why can't I be as good,
Right.
unfortunately, as people like that.
And would you say that this is something that both sexes, both genders deal with at the same rate, or
Yeah, I think both deal with it for sure. I think it's tends to be more problematic for females
Right.
in that arena in terms of self-esteem and depression.
Yeah.
Some of the research bears out to that. Boys are spending more time playing video games probably than
Right.
engaging in trying to get likes and things like that on
Right.
Instagram.
Right.
But there are other problems with boys, I think, and one of the issues I think that we're not really sure about how it's impacting society is pornography.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just such a prevalence of it out there right now. And
Yeah, younger and younger ages, more and more,
Right.
access to it, and more use of it, I guess, for lack of a better term.
And
yeah.
it would be safe to say with really all these things, but especially that, and this isn't something we've ever dealt with in human history before, is it?
No, not in terms of having access to that
Yeah,
sort
like
of content.
thousands and thousands of images available to you.
Videos, and all kinds of different things that I think majority of people don't think it's a good idea for children to have access
Right.
to. Yeah.
Right.
And they
that's-
do.
And so that's something that you're seeing in your practice.
Yeah, very young ages, over-sexualized behavior at younger and younger ages for sure. Yeah.
No, another thing we were talking about earlier was that bullying is also really affected by online, which was something that was new to me. I mean,
Yeah.
we both grew up in an age before the internet was. We're dating ourselves, but it was just coming out when we were in high school.
Late high school, yeah.
Yeah, real late high school, and I mean, it was just checking emails and like a game, or go to a website of a famous person or something.
Pirating music.
Yeah, pirating music. Yes.
Yeah.
But it's a little different now, and bullying is something that.
It's the communication aspect, I
Right.
think, is so a lot of children's communication occurs via the internet through chat groups, text messaging, direct message, whatever that is, IMs. Whereas like when we were a child, they were, you would be around adults a lot, and then you could, they would mitigate any of the meanness or the bullying that could occur at school.
Right.
And then you could kind of always, run home, right, and be safe
Right.
there. And now that's following them into the home. Through the internet while they're in chat groups and some of these things are going on. Then
So
it's going back to school the next day, and it's causing problems in many environments.
Oh yeah, and so I can imagine. So you're being bullied at school, and at one time you could just get away from it for a few hours at least, but
Yeah, feel
now
safe,
it's
yeah.
following you at 2:00 in the morning because you're getting dings on your phone and.
Yeah, and then you're up night at night worrying about the next day because of either threats or things that could continue.
Right. And there's
it's
no,
difficult.
a lot of these are happening in spaces, like you said, that there is no adult supervision.
Yeah, very little.
It's like Lord of the Flies on some of these.
Yeah. It can be for some kids, and that's obviously terrible.
Yeah. And so we're really on uncharted territories with a lot of this online stuff.
For sure.
So
Yep, and we'll definitely get into that sort of realm at some point.
that should be very interesting. I'm sure a lot of people have questions about that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as far as the approaches that we've traditionally had, what's that looked like?
So I think in terms of removing unwanted behaviors, there was common approaches of like a fear-based method, right?
Right.
And that could be physical discipline, it could be intimidation, threats, things of that nature.
Because it seems to work, right? I mean, you get what you want
Yes,
immediately.
somewhat, right? I think
Right.
there are many ways you can get what you want, but yeah, you do get changed behavior. I think there are some side effects of that, though,
Right.
that, in terms of increases in depression, anxiety in children, and then also.
So so just to be clear, you're suggesting that physical discipline can lead to greater levels of.
There's correlations for sure, yeah. Even when they account for other factors, that there's a correlation between increased depression rates, predominantly, and physical discipline with children for sure.
Right.
And I think that approach too, you lose a bit of the relationship with your
Right.
child, right? Because there's this sort of fear, thing.
Anger, resentment, yeah.
Yeah, I think you can see some of that, and,
Right.
and people equate it with respect, and I don't think that that's necessarily true. I don't think fear and respect are the same thing,
Right.
right? And I think that it can cause kids to be less apt to be open with parents,
Right.
and then
Who they're
welcome
afraid
that
of.
guidance. Yeah, because there's a fear of
Right.
this
Well,
sort
that
of
makes
approach.
sense.
And then also they may get sneakier, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't want to get caught by any means necessary, so let's really, go into incognito mode out in the world.
Right. But now, if physical discipline's out, I mean, a lot of people are going to say there's just, the kid isn't going to listen. I was raised that way. you know, I see kids at the supermarket now and they're out of control. What else do parents try that might not be so effective?
So yeah, there are, you know, again, it comes back to, I think, that we're not doing a good job as a society in informing parents and helping them, right, to learn methods that'll be successful in today's world.
Right.
And, you know, I think some people resort to the yelling, right, because it's, I ask, I can't deal with this anymore, and I yell, and then my kid then engages in the wanted behavior, right? So it's come down to dinner, I call you know, and that kind of screaming.
Right.
And once again, you get the desired outcome, but you've had to get to this point of frustration and anger, and that can be damaging to the relationship.
And it's probably pretty safe to say that's a miserable way to live, being in an angry,
Yeah.
Even if there's not physical discipline, just a yelling kind of insane home.
Yeah, I think the resentment moves over onto the parents. You know,
Yeah,
now,
yeah, right.
It's like, yeah, you do
And
see
parents
some
are
of
already
that.
stressed out enough in today's society.
Yeah,
so
yeah, for
you
sure.
don't need any more of that.
Yeah. Or then another approach that I see a lot too, and I hear that can be unsuccessful, you know, at times, is the sort of, well, I keep telling them why, and you talk about, you try to convince a 10-year-old why doing dishes is important, right?
Well, and you know, it's going to build character, and in 30 years, you're going to thank me. Does that not effective?
Yeah, I don't think you get good behavioral changes in that way. I think it's important to impart your values and beliefs onto your child, but I wouldn't expect that will result in changed behavior. And eventually the kid's going to drown it out. It's sort of the like the nagging thing, or the background noise that they
Because I
tired
mean,
of hearing.
at the level a lot of these kids are at, they're not really. They haven't even developed the concept of what 20 years is going to be like, right?
Yeah, very much so.
what
And the
it's gonna be
consequential
like.
thinking's not even close to
Yes, right.
being, you know, that part of the brain's not fully
thinking
myelinated,
this-
not for a long time.
This
still.
sucks now, and I'd much rather be playing video games or
Yeah.
doing anything but
Yeah.
this onerous chore here.
And they don't care if there's dirty dishes.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter to
Exactly.
them, right? So there's that.
So yelling, not so great either. Nagging, that work?
I mean, all of these things can work, right?
Right.
It's just, do they work well, and do they foster a healthy development for the child, and a positive relationship for the parent and the child, and is it easy on the parent? You know, and I think a
Sure,
lot
right.
of these
Everybody,
things are not
we all
easy.
want everybody to be successful here, right?
Yeah, it's very frustrating to have to
All right.
have that repeated problem again and again and again. Yeah.
So then the solution is to go and take away their Xbox for 30 days because they're not doing anything. Is that right?
No, you brought up another point. Is that I think along with that frustration that can lead to yelling, can also lead to these hyperbolic threats or punishments.
Right.
Which
Over the top.
yeah, you know, it's the punishment doesn't fit the crime type
Right.
situation, at least from the child's perspective. You're so frustrated because it's been repeated. but
Right.
They're like, I was just finishing up a game. It's 5 minutes. Like,
Yeah.
what's the big deal, right? But it's been 5 minutes every day for the past 6 months. Right?
Yeah.
And there's two issues with that. I think one is the child just thinks you're being a jerk, you know,
Right.
so to speak, is
Right.
that it doesn't make much sense to them. And then also you lose your leverage in these
Right.
cases too.
Now
So
what
if
are you going to take away?
Yeah, you took my Xbox away, say, for a month. Now I'm angry with you and I'm upset, and I have all this free time. What am I going to do with that? Well, I can get you back, right? I can annoy you.
I'll torment you.
yeah. And, you know, I don't think it's outwardly like evil kind of thing, but it's sort of, there's some resentment there. They have time to dwell on it, and there you are, the cause of their suffering in their minds. Yeah.
And like you said, then you get nothing else you're going to take
Yeah.
away
What
from
are you
them.
going to do at that point?
Or you
now?
might
Yeah.
end up, I mean, what might end up happening is that you end up giving in, and then it's like, yeah, I just got to wait them out.
Yeah, and then they don't believe you next time, right? So then
Totally.
it loses its power over the child as well.
Sure.
Yep.
So these are ineffective ways. Are parents completely out of luck? Is there no way that's going to work?
No, definitely are. I think there's tried and true practices, behavioral approaches that work with children, and we're definitely going to get into those, right? And they revolve around rewards and consequences, in creating these clear kind of rules to the game that you're going to be playing, in a sense, with your child, in order to change some of the unwanted behaviors, get better compliance, and things of that, and reduce the frustration with you, reduce the frustration with your child, and get your home moving in a little more efficient way.
Now, some people are going to be skeptical about this.
Of course.
Is this something that you've actually seen work in your practice?
Yes, so I've been working with children and families for well over 20 years now. I've worked with at-risk kids for most of my career. I've done some of these myself with students. I've done some of these things with my own children. I've taught parents some of these skill sets, and they've had success with it, right? And so I think they're effective, and
Okay.
yeah, I think they can be beneficial, and so that's why we're here.
Well, I'm
Try
sure there's
to,
a lot of people that are going to want to hear these methods because they're probably dealing with these issues themselves. So
yeah,
that's something we have to look forward to in our next episode.
yeah.
Correct.
Hopefully it'll be helpful.
All right.
All right.
Sounds good. Well, thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you in our next episode.
Should be very soon.
All right.